massive welfare legitimacy rate. And I think it's time for that to end. I don't think we have to have a forced sterilization or a uterus in every pot, but I think what we need to do is start requiring them to practice birth control. If they don't want to do that, then their welfare should be cut off.
No, hello. Well, first, let me tell you something, all right, pal? In New York State, I won't direct this to the entire nation and to you folks out in Los Angeles or anyplace else. Let me just say, in New York State, the average time one stays on welfare is 2 years, first of all. Less than 1% are chronic welfare collectors. And I might remind you, sterilization is permanent. And the average size of a welfare family is 3 people. So welfare mothers with lots of kids is a myth. Baby, I'm as far to the right as anyone else. But, you know, I just don't see welfare mothers having 16 kids so they can get more welfare, because all you get is an extra 40 bucks a month. Got any kids of your own?
Got 2 children, yeah.
Tried to feed them on 40 bucks a month?
The point is, it's not the point of how much money their welfare check received. You're right, the children will cost more than the additional money they receive. But they see that as an incentive. The welfare check being increased is an incentive to them for more money. Also, they also qualify for more food stamps, and I think the food stamp program is wrong. We have so much food stamp abuse. People going into supermarkets, most of us, I think, have seen it, where people go in, they'll buy the best cuts of meat, or they'll buy other expensive items.
Yeah, shame on our poor people. You're not entitled to anything good. Eat hot dogs.
Wait. While the middle-class person goes in and tries to make ends meet, I don't think anybody should starve in this country. But I don't think we need a food stamp program. By the way, food stamps can be exchanged because they have a monetary value. They've also been used for things like drugs and every other type of vice that you can think of. I think we need a brown bag kind of charity where people can go in and get regular foodstuffs they need. There should be no starvation in America, but food stamps
let me tell you, wait a second. You talking about welfare mothers and about too many kids and that. It's my understanding that the KKK kicked your lily white ass out because you were spending more time between the sheets than with the sheets on. Is that right? Now you're a good-looking guy, and I imagine you probably found yourself into a lot of those sheets that you didn't wear.
Well, I tell you, sir, maybe I should have found myself into a few more. I think the point is I was never kicked out of any Klan group per se. I started the National Association for the Advancement of White People because I think it's a better approach. I've never advocated violence or illegality, but with the Klan you carry a lot of baggage. I think the media really has produced a great deal of it. I think the Klan was a great organization. It saved the South in the Reconstruction period. I'm not ashamed of my activities in the Klan. I acted legally and properly. I think that at some point in this country that white people need to begin to defend their rights. Affirmative action is discriminating against white people. We find, again, a massive welfare program, and a great deal of it's oriented toward blacks. We find crime racking our cities and racking our states, and I think that, again...
It's all blacks, right?
It's not all blacks, but a great proportion of it is, yes, sir.
But that's great proportion is black on black, too.
All we hear about the media is...
great proportion is black on black, too.
Well, a lot of it is black on black, but that doesn't excuse the great amount of crime that's been visited upon white people in this country. And black people, they stick together. They have their organizations, and I think the NAAWP...
Although no one says there's anything wrong with having the National Association for the Advancement of White People.
Well, that's what I have, and that's what we're working for.
But I'd love to read your platform, all right?
Well, you're welcome to read it anytime.
Yeah. Dr. Gloria Toot. Dr. Toot, as the Republican Woman of the Year in 1977, as a member of numerous administrations, you have sat so ladylike and silent. What in the world has happened to your tongue?
Well, I was trying to remember that one thing that's great about this country is freedom of speech, and the fact that what he says is rather ridiculous. I really want to call it stupid, really, but I'll be kind and say ridiculous. He has the right to say it. But I would hope that not many people support it, and from what I understand the size of his organization, they never want to indicate
from what I understand, the size of a lot of things may not indicate that he had any real luck. Let me introduce you to a gentleman by the name of Tom Metzger, who is the founder of the White Aryan Resistance. Now, Tom, could you support David Duke for president?
I'm not supporting anyone for president. We do not like any of the candidates, period, and we're sitting this one out. We're showing
That'll probably be extremely upsetting.
We're voting no confidence. Well, until these turkeys start talking about white workers and workers in general a lot more, we have no use for them. As far as the welfare situation, the largest percentage of people on welfare are white people and white women, and we support those white women that are falling through the cracks of the system.
What about the black women who are falling through the cracks?
I am interested right now in supporting the largest percentage of welfare people in the United States and poor people that are white. I see no white welfare mothers represented here.
You won't support the blacks who have
The
the same
blacks,
problem?
they've got all kinds of leaders and groups. They're yelling, they're screaming, I'm screaming. I'd like to sterilize a few of these fat cat corporation people that keep building more bombs and getting us into more military operations overseas. But I would suggest that welfare recipient white people are creating guerrilla warfare against the system. I tell them to take all they can get before some Asian gets it or somebody from outside the country, because it's all going to be gone pretty soon.
David, back to you. What's your platform? I mean, for a minute, I understand you have an unusual position on what the government should be doing with welfare mothers.
Well, I think we need two things. I think we need workfare instead of welfare. I think we should require able-bodied welfare recipients to do work to get their welfare checks. We find the rolls go down rapidly when you do that. And again, I think that we've got to break the cycle of poverty. One statistic...
How do you break it, David?
Well, one statistic you didn't mention is that a great percentage, almost 60% of the welfare recipients today have been it's been a generational problem. But their folks, their parents have been on the system, on the dole also. You break it by going in there, when they go in to qualify for welfare, the average woman who wants to receive welfare, she should go into an orientation on birth control. This should be required, and she should agree to sign a statement that she will practice birth control or
Just white women as well as black women?
Sure, they're not going to abstain, but they should...
Wait a minute. We have seen 60 to 70 million white children aborted in this country since 1972. That is a form of sterilization also.
Well, I'm opposed
that
to
is
abortion.
more than were killed in the entire Second World War. That is more.
I agree with that, but what
and
I'm
we're
saying...
not going to tolerate the decrease in the white population by pushing birth control to white women.
If someone wants to receive welfare benefits from society, I think they have a responsibility at the same time to the hard-working people who are trying to provide for their children and who are paying these taxes who can't afford children.
Well, let's find out where the upper middle class are shipping the jobs out of the country.
Does your platform call for full employment?
I think the opportunity for employment must be there.
And you're aware that we can't right now give jobs to everybody who wants a job. You're aware of that?
I'll tell you what I believe. I believe there's a lot of people, and I certainly think there are many people who want jobs and aren't getting jobs, but there's also a lot of people in this country right now who don't want to work.
What's your formula for creating jobs as a candidate? If you want to take people off of welfare, if you want everyone to work, then how are you going to create the jobs?
All right, first of all, we have to have a program where the best qualified get jobs.
Now, how are you going
We've got to protect our country from the foreign trade that's coming in. That's the first thing.
Are you aware that the only time,
there's no such thing as free trade.
We cannot, this country has had full employment is at time of war? Are you aware of that?
I'm trying to answer.
We're going to come back in just a second because this is becoming very boring, all right? Political platforms usually are. Stand with us. I have a question for Dr. Toot, but I have a question for Dr. Toot, but first I want to go... David, are you in a rush for something here? Looking at your watch?
Oh, yeah.
No. Good. You told my producers that you were in favor of sterilization.
No, I didn't.
Of welfare mothers.
I'm not opposed to the principle. I mean, we have sterilization right now among college graduates exceeds the use of the pill as a birth control method. So on a voluntary basis, I'm certainly not opposed to it. And if that's the way they want to practice birth control, that's fine. But I certainly am not for a mandatory sterilization. I've never said that.
All right, well, we've heard an awful lot of talk in the racist communities about that. Dr. Toot, what goes through your mind when you hear two white racists trying to figure out how to sew up the love canal of America's welfare mothers?
Sickies. You know, they're not practical, they're not realistic. They're not even aware what the medical cost would be to do that. That's number one. But the approach is not rational. The problems that we have in America economically cannot be solved with the platform this gentleman has. In fact, I don't even think he has a platform.
Let me go to the welfare. Let me go to some of the
not only is reducing the birth rate important to the middle-class taxpayer, it's important to the minority person because these children are born in terrible conditions of child abuse, crime, drugs, and we spend...
Nothing is going to justify the sterilization that you're proposing.
Ma'am, we spend 30 times more on welfare today than we spent just 25 years ago in this country.
You have more people today than you had 25 years
more
ago.
People.
You have more people today. Bear that in mind.
We've got 30 times more people. Wait a second.
We have more poverty
today. We have more crime. We have more drug abuse.
Solving it.
We have a worse educational system.
You're not solving it, preaching
Ma'am, this isn't hate to talk about science and what's going on.
You may not recognize it as such.
If the birth rate...
It's not healthy.
The reason why we can't help the poor...
I'm just saying it's not healthy.
The reason why we can't help the
With
poor...
your attitude, you can't.
Ma'am, let me finish. The reason why
I've been listening to
ma'am,
you all
the reason why...
the first 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes were yours.
The reason why I can't talk to her, she's not listening. The reason why we can't help the poor
For the Grand Dragon.
is because the welfare birth rate is exceeding our ability to pay for it.
For the Grand Dragon.
The welfare birth rate is higher than our ability to pay for it.
Wait a second, I want to hear from... No, I'm going to be with you in a second, Cyril. I want to hear from Mr. Metzger wanted to say something, and I know this has to be urgent.
Well, it's one why raise it. We were told in the 60s and the 70s that if we stopped the birth rate, lowered it, we'd be in a lot better shape. We'd have a higher standard of living. That was told the whites and blacks. What happened? Sure, the whites did it. The blacks didn't do it too much. Then the third world invasion came, and they filled every blank spot of one of those 60 million kids aborted with someone from the third world. You see?
Does that bother you, someone from the third world coming in here?
It does when they take the place of the sons and daughters of the men and women who fought and have lived and worked for this country all their life.
Amen.
Well, they couldn't have fought too hard if they aborted their kids, could they? Huh?
There's a lot of people that believe that's the only way out of their economic situation. Now they say
What's
people
your
are better...
program for out of the economic situation? What
Well, number one is the defense spending. Cut the hell out of the so-called war with all the weapons and all of that kind of
stuff.
stuff.
What else do you cut?
The corporations, punish them when they move factories out of this country, and force them, if they're going to live here, work here, make lots of money here, they're going to employ American people. And then you won't have the people needing to get abortions all the time. That's the way it should be.
And I'll say something else. I think it's a racial motivation.
Man, I've been accused of being simplistic, but that's absolutely unbelievable.
There's a racial motivation in the welfare system, too.
Answers are.
Morris Jeff, who's the head of the National Black Welfare Workers Association, was asked by the New Orleans Times-Picayune, what would he do about the illegitimate birth rate? He says, well, look around. We wouldn't control the city of New Orleans except for our birth rate. He himself talked about the fact that whites maybe should be concerned about the increasing minority birth rate in America. I totally
disagree.
I think the liberal...
Let me hear from a welfare mother, all right? Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm not a welfare mother, but I'm a welfare representative.
All right, you're a representative, and you represent a lot of welfare mothers we have here.
Yes.
All right.
Women are on welfare.
You represent them to the welfare boards?
I'm an advocacy to the welfare board of welfare mothers.
All right, let me ask you a question now, because this is a story that happened to a friend of mine in Sacramento, California. He had a hamburger stand near any black community in a black area, all right, near a university. And when he had the young ladies working for them, he paid $5.50 an hour. A welfare lady used to come in there once a month and talk to his people and tell them how they would make more money on welfare than they would by getting his $5.50 because they had to take out taxes, they had to pay for their own medical care, and if they were on welfare, they'd be doing better. Now, do you do that type of thing?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Because that is an abuse, as you know.
That is an abuse. There are some people on welfare who have a need to be there. Welfare was initiated just for that fact, for emergency assistance.
It's called relief.
Emergency relief, as you want to call it. However, these women should not be forced to take birth control pills, have their uterus removed and cooked in a pot, nor should they their bodies. They should have the right to do what they want, not to be forced. Now, as Mr. Downey said, mothers on welfare, they are not having 10, 12, 15 children. The average woman on welfare have 1.2 children. That, okay? Now, that average out to 2 children.
I wish all the
I
white
can
women
tell
were
you-
having 15 kids.
Let me give you the actual figures, all right? 73.5% of welfare families have no more than 2 children. 30% have been on for less than 2 years, 50% for less than 4 years. But let me tell you what
That's
the real
white
problem
ones.
is. Pardon me?
No,
That average comes down with the white ones.
That's all of them.
It averages out with the white
Not
That's
the white
all of them,
ones.
Tom.
It's
That's all.
total number.
Let me tell you.
Well, let me tell you what a real problem is, all right? I don't know if you know it, and I don't know if you know it. I mean, we're all trying to be humanitarian here, all right? The real problem is they won't let the father stay with the family, all right?
Precisely. Morton?
If the father could stay with the family, then you wouldn't have the problems that you got. But we created the problems with the broken families in this country. The pablum-puking Democrats did it, baby. Where? You know damn well where.
Martin,
Wait a second.
Martin,
Next
run
we're going to talk.
Your
Next we're going to
runaway
talk to this
capitalist.
father-son act, all right? That wants to set up their own state, an all-white state. Stay with us, Cyril. I'm coming back to you. Come on, let's go.
Transportation for the Morton Downey Jr. Show, furnished by Redwood Limousine. When in New York, call.
Let me read something for you. Let me read something. This says Duke's campaign bid seen shaking up Democrats and GOP. Good Lord, who's kidding, all right? Now, here's from a magazine that Mr. Duke is quoted. I don't hate blacks. They've got good points. They're like children. They're innocent, and they're cruel. They can't control themselves. You see the way they bop along with their radios, no discipline. They're instinctive. They're instinctive. That's why they're good in sports and music. They've got great rhythm. Whether their rhythm is so great, what are you worried about them having so many children for? Wrong kind of rhythm. Gloria?
Unfortunately, you have a
Let me hear
number of
Gloria.
people who the only way they can be seen is not through talent, because they don't have it. Therefore, they make extreme statements, and that's their way of gaining visibility. Nobody now does not say that our welfare system is not horrible. It's there, it's in place, and what happens with government is, once you put something in place, it's hard to get rid of. But what you have to do is sit down and design a method of improving it. And improving it does not mean to deprive others of their constitutional rights. His rights are being respected. Here he is, network television, saying outlandish things. But the rights of women, not just black women, women in general, he would just, with no concern at all, deprive them of it.
Madam,
And
Like
that is
they've already deprived. Like they've already deprived.
Women don't have the
welfare
right
fathers.
to attack the race.
of their rights.
Madam Lucille.
Saying
Lucille,
no.
I want Cyril, you're going to go after
Women
this
don't
lady,
have the
because I
right.
know she's been out of shape.
It's not black women. The issue isn't white women, Hispanic, or whatever. The issue is women on welfare. And it's not fair that women on welfare are talked down, they're low self-esteem, they're unmotivated. That is not true. There are many mothers on welfare because they were gainfully employed. There is not adequate daycare facilities for their children. How in the hell can a mother go out here and work when her child is not being provided
that's
for?
right, ma'am.
It's
And if
the
she has
only
more
other place for
children,
her to
she's not going to be
result
able to
is
work.
welfare.
And if she has more
What are you
children,
telling
you're
these
not,
men?
you're not going to have the money. If she has more illegitimate...
Are you willing to open your office and give out condoms to men who have sex with welfare women to also help keep the birth rate down? Have you
Hell
ever
yeah.
considered doing that?
I know hardly anybody.
No.
I know.
Have you ever considered doing
The
that?
problem in America for American women and men is the fact that corporations and the government are not providing places where children can be taken in the morning, as is done in Europe, where they have good care, where they're getting a good education, while both the mother and father, if necessary, work.
Ma'am.
What is needed is a place for those who wish to work to take
Why
their
can't,
children.
Keep 'em at home.
private industry do this? Why do we
keep 'em
always
at
have
home.
to turn to the government?
Martin,
Cyril, let me hear
simple,
Cyril.
simple.
Cyril's been trying to talk all
Grand
night. Go
Dragon,
ahead,
just
pal.
1 second. First of all, you're looking at was the son of a welfare mother. And we're not a 1.2 family. 9 children followed me, okay? All members of society, gainfully employed, paying our taxes. And my mother is a candidate for a doctoral degree. Okay, let's get that straight. Welfare mother.
Cyril, incidentally, is with the Congress of Racial Equality.
Mr. Grand Dragon President, I want to give this to you. The way to cut the cycle of poverty is to create jobs. How do you do it? By making every welfare recipient, every welfare mother a worker. Give them a job and a contract. That job and that contract is to administer those funds to their children, okay? You give them a contract. What are the elements of the contract? They have to maintain the children clean. They have to make sure they go to school. Now, I'm not talking about giving dole money out. I'm talking about creating a job for those so-called welfare mothers. Call them workers.
Okay, how do you create the job?
Welfare.
You know, you create it, and you make those welfare counselors. You make those welfare
create
counselors.
a job and have the taxpayer pay for it.
You make those welfare counselors. You make those welfare counselors contract compliance officers, and you reduce your spending there. And you put a time limit on all that.
Why?
And before you know it, you'll see those so-called welfare mothers who can now buy daycare services. Okay, I'm not talking about creating free services anywhere.
Why do you try to make it appear like it's just a black problem?
Well, you deal with the white problem.
Where are the white welfare?
Fine, you
There's
deal with
more
the white
white
problem.
poor in this country than black.
Go ahead.
Now, I know white mothers are on welfare, and they can't possibly. They can't pay their rent. This idea is ridiculous. I know a lot of them on welfare. They try to get the jobs, they can't pay the rent. There's not enough wages to pay the rent. You might always get the symptoms of the black problem.
You are colorblind.
That's either right.
I strive hard for women. I strive and work hard for women. I don't care what color they are.
Why didn't you bring some with you?
I did.
I got some.
Show me one white welfare mother. I don't see any. You want all the welfare. I tell white. White welfare mothers to go get it. White welfare mothers get it before
Why don't you
shut up and let it There's more white welfare mothers. Go after it. If you don't, it's going to be the Puerto Ricans.
Where are they? Where are you white?
Anybody they bring
Where are
in.
they? Where are they? We cannot divide the system. We cannot divide
Bankrupt
the
this
system.
rotten system.
But where
Why
are your
should the
white
system be
welfare
divided?
mothers? Where
The
are they?
system-
Why
wait
did
just
you
a
not
second.
bring
Excuse
your
me.
white
Excuse me.
welfare
Why
mothers
do white
here?
people being
Zip
left
it
out
for a
of
minute.
this?
Zip it.
Why did you bring
Wait
them
a second,
here?
sweetheart.
The
Lucille,
boys there.
give me one
The
second here.
illegitimate problem
Why
is
should we...
primarily a
David,
black
shut
problem.
up! Divide the system. Why shouldn't we just create a total new system? Why divide it? And how's this for an idea?
Because there's a lot of
Let me ask you
difference
an idea.
between black welfare and white welfare.
Oh, what the hell is
There
it?
is. What is it? Because the whites are out looking for the job.
There is a difference.
The whites are out looking for
Yeah,
jobs
they're trying.
because the whites have a better
Blacks are
shot at
sitting on
getting the
their
jobs,
ass,
don't
doing
they?
it over and over and
They
over.
have a chance to get the job.
What's the difference? What's
I'm
the
telling
difference?
every white welfare mother to take every dime they can get before the third world gets it.
And I'm telling every black one to kick his ass. We'll be back in just a minute. Come back.
I'm not the kind of girl who sits home.
Listen, I want to introduce you to a gentleman you're just going to love, all right? I want to introduce you to a guy. His name is John Metzger. He's the son of Tom. John's the president of the Aryan Youth Movement. Now, John is the founder of that organization. Wait a second. Give the poor guy a chance. You look like normal, red-blooded American boy, whatever would possess you to suck around daddy with that kind of stuff?
Well, I'll get directly to the main topic of the subject. I won't even bother responding to you. People who don't really...
Oh, I'm just so upset I almost wet my pants.
See, people who don't care about themselves and are lazy and get money off the welfare system, they shouldn't get the money. But I don't want the government coming in and directing these programs, because in a while, just because you look this way, they'll say you're not going to get this kind of money. What I'm saying is people that have a bad break because of all the illegal immigration, 30 million, in 1985, 30 million white kids over the age of 25 had no education at all through high school. That was 7 times higher than the black man. And anytime you see it on the news reports, it's always percentages.
Whose fault was that?
Affirmative action, that's who.
No, it wasn't.
Accurate.
No.
All I'm trying to say... All
You
I'm
don't
trying
have to have
say...
affirmative action to get into school, Tom.
Schools were closed down to white.
You don't need affirmative action to get into school.
I'm not trying...
The education system wasn't shut down
I'm not
to white.
trying to represent all people. I feel it's my duty to represent white people.
Evidently you are.
And that white
The
people really
the
don't
school
have that
system
break.
did not
And I'm here to
close their
represent
doors
them.
to white.
Box
Who did they
1784
close
in
the
Fall River,
doors on?
California.
You
Gives you a whole bunch of
Let me
literature.
hear. Now, let me hear.
Affirmative action is
Let me hear from the
welfare.
white people.
Affirmative
How
action
many
is
of you
welfare.
does John represent?
Affirmative
Let's hear it.
Closed on black. But we,
Where's
we
ours?
Okay.
How
Okay,
about the
that's him.
thousands of letters we get off these
still
shows and all these
educated
other shows?
ourselves.
Then,
See, they won't stand up right now because there's a lot of peer pressure out there, but there are people out there who agree. See, I could come in here... See, I could come in here and I feel all right because I know there's people out there I'm representing.
here's the only thing. Here's the only thing these guys respond to, right? You love it, right? You like that, huh? You like that, huh?
Listen, the most massive program of racial discrimination in America's history is going on right now against white people. It's called affirmative action. It goes on in every major corporation, every business, school, everywhere. If discrimination was wrong against minorities in years past,
Education. You have always been
and it's
able
going
to
on
get
in
into
massive
school.
scale, and it's about time we spoke
You
out
better
about it.
talk into that, pal. No one's hearing you. Got to talk into that.
Affirmative action.
Well, let me hear from an educated person, Dr. Toot, all right? This guy obviously isn't.
What we need is a nation that has full employment, a nation that doesn't spend its budget on armaments, and I'm so glad that now Russia and this country are going to realize that spending money on armaments rather than increasing our productivity is silly.
Well, Dr.
We need
Toot, that's
better- wait a
another
minute.
show.
Whoa.
That's
We
another
need-
show. I'm
we
not
need
sure we
better
didn't get
education,
snookered in that one.
Educating people to work. There's no need for everyone to finish school and be a functional illiterate and have no skills. We have got to increase the productivity of this country.
You like what she's saying?
We've got to have
Would you welcome her
corporations
into your organization?
who are willing
Would
to
you?
have
She
daycare
can come and
centers
speak to me
so their
anytime and even be
employees
on
can
my
come to work.
TV show.
Can she be in your organization? She's saying the things you like.
Does she want to help white people? Sure, she can associate with us. Anybody who wants to help white working people is welcome with us.
I understand.
I would rather have you join my organization of good Americans.
I've
Because
been the
we talk
guest of a
about
lot
all
of black
Americans.
people.
We don't limit it to anybody. All Americans. All Americans.
What I want to know is where the NAACP, where's the NAACP on illegal immigration? How come the NAACP never got into the fight over the border problem? How come the NAACP? How come they don't get into it?
What
Get
they're
up.
arguing is not
Now,
even
Lucia.
good.
What do you
Wait a
mean?
second.
They represent black people,
Wait a
don't
second.
they?
I want Shorty to say something. Go ahead.
represent
What are you doing with that button on?
We're winning all the time. We're winning all the time. You ought to go vote for Justice. Just cut the lights out and vote for Justice because y'all saying the same thing you said.
Now you and I are coming apart now.
Vote for Justice.
No,
You can't vote for President.
no.
We're winning all the time. Winning all the time.
I'm not attacking
Cut
Jesse
the lights out
Jackson.
and vote for Jesse. That's all you got to do.
Have I
You said
said
the same thing he
anything
said.
against Jesse
You said the same thing he said, but you won't admit it.
You heard any?
You won't
say
admit it.
anything?
We got bad schools because nobody admitted it. The people that
let's
run
do
the
that.
schools,
I hope Jesse Jackson hears it.
Let's do that on another show.
Okay.
All right, let's do that on another
Okay.
show. You like Jesse Jackson?
Definitely I love
Sit
you.
down. Now let's get some calmness.
I can believe her if she's willing to say. I can believe her if she's willing to say, yes, I'm for equal rights for all. If the best qualified, the person who works the hardest, who gets the best grades, they should get the scholarship or the job or the promotion. If you're opposed to affirmative action, then I can believe that you're for all people. Are you opposed to affirmative action?
I'm opposed to quotas, but I am not opposed to a system that redresses the needs of people.
And
now, for quotas, I do not support them. However, I did...
Goals.
Wait a minute, let me finish. I did take
My
an
white
oath.
forefather.
Let me hear
I
her, Metzger, when you
did take an oath. I did take an oath to support the Constitution and protect the rights of all citizens. And they were not simply minority rights that I was concerned with. I am the person who was responsible for women throughout the country
the
to
bond
be able to
slave
break
whites.
loans.
Remember the
from
bond
banks.
slave
I
whites.
can't put blinders on. I cannot think only as a black.
Then
You
ma'am,
may think that way.
Then ma'am,
I cannot.
Then ma'am, you
Country
should be...
cannot be great
Ma'am.
as long as we have blinders
Ma'am,
on.
then you
with
should...
hatred.
Well, then you should
Hatred
be...
is no good.
You should be in a white civil rights movement today because it's white rights that are being lost
They
in
are
America.
not.
Massive
You know what?
discrimination.
You know what? Hey,
No,
John, you know what? I want to go to the people and the welfare mothers next. Let's talk to them. Come on, John. All right. Okay. You all right? Now, let's talk to wait a second, sweetheart. Let me talk to you. You're a welfare mother, am I correct?
I am.
Okay, if you have a question, ask
And
it.
I'll tell you what, on top of the fact that I was a welfare mother, not only did I used to get aid and work at the same time, raise 7 children, all right? But at the same time, I supported some of your women who you walked out on while you were laying underneath the sheet.
How long?
You left your baby.
How long have you been in this country?
No. You are about
Some of the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It doesn't take that much intelligence.
Look, lady.
Between you
Look,
and
lady,
I.
all we're asking you to do is while you receive
No.
welfare benefits,
No.
that you
I
don't have
work.
children.
When did you
Because
come to this country?
why should the people
What did you
who
do
work
for the
hard in
people
America
that
be forced to finance your
What did you
illegitimacy?
do?
Why?
What did you do? What did you do? You took
Why
the
should he take the
little
money from
kids
people who are trying to pay for their children's education?
How long
have you been in this country?
Understand me?
How long you been in this country?
I was working.
Yeah, where are you from?
I was working. I'll tell you where I'm from.
Where were you born?
I was born in the island of Puerto Rico, which your country gets part of what we have. Do you understand? We constantly fight for what we believe
That's
in.
the whole
Let me ask
problem,
you
ma'am.
something.
Native
David, let me
Americans
ask
who
you a
can't even
question.
afford children
Native Americans
are forced to finance.
She's a Native American. You're running for president, and you don't know a Puerto Rican is Native American? You don't... Come on. How long have you been on welfare?
I only been this past 3 years. I went out of work. All my children were grown. I'm still fighting to get a job because of my nationality or either my color, because if you look at me, obviously I'm not white, but it doesn't make a difference as to what kind of job I need. It wouldn't make any difference
You can
if I was
qualify for
making $4
you
an hour.
can qualify for 2 affirmative action programs, Hispanic and minority. I'm black. Ma'am,
Let me ask you.
women too, that's
Let me
right.
ask you.
Ma'am,
Have you tried to get jobs at any of the fast
Yes,
food
I
places?
have, and I'll tell you what.
Ma'am, there's a common place for welfare. Welfare is not
Shut
right.
up, David, for a
I
minute.
have taken tax for the government job. Do you understand? And the only thing is if you only have one job slot open and 20,000 people apply for the job and only one person
Okay.
can get it, then what?
Let me go to this
You're
lady
in
now.
trouble. Let me
Let's get as many people. Let's get as many people up there.
Get us the vote.
Puerto Rico for
Go.
Puerto Ricans and take the Puerto
Okay.
Where do you come from?
We don't want Puerto Rico. Take it back.
You don't want Puerto Rico?
No. We support the Puerto Ricans. Take it back.
Come here. Wait a second, sweetheart. Zip it. Zip it. Let me this lady have a chance. Zip it. Go.
Thank you. All right. First, I always think it's good for you to have these Duke and Metzger guys on so people can see what real jerks they really are.
That's true, man.
Okay. But anyway, to get down to something serious, I wanted to go back to Cyril's plan.
What'd you say about her
for
hairdo?
welfare. What?
Go on, continue.
Look, you're
Said something
irrelevant.
about his hairdo
You're
and he-
irrelevant.
he has
Let me go
some
on
body
to my
hair.
point. All right. Actually, I just fell into his hands, so now let me concentrate on what I'm saying. I want to elaborate a little bit more on what Cyril said, because I think that the plan that he proposed for welfare is very good. In any kind of situation, you have both good and you have bad. In the welfare system, I'm afraid, unfortunately, you have more bad people, more people abusing the system than really is
the
necessary.
blacks, that's who.
Now, let me go to
Sure, the
Cyril's
blacks.
plan and just elaborate just a little bit.
Where's the white
Cyril's
welfare
plan
money?
of making the mothers, having the mothers.
We tried to get some white welfare mothers. When they heard you two scum were going to be here, they didn't want to be identified with you.
Cyril's plan of having a contract with the mothers, between the mothers and the government, okay, wherein they have certain guidelines to follow it. I would take it even one step further. I would say this. Yes, you have a time limit. And if you
Come on, make it
miss
fast.
one of
Cyril's already
the
said it.
qualifications that you have to have, if you don't follow one of the procedures such as making sure that your child goes to school on time, I think the child should be taken
All right,
from
I
you
got a better plan
and
for
give
you.
it to
I got a
somebody
better
else
plan. Let's see what you
to
think of this
fulfill
one.
the contract.
Let's see what you think of this one. I got a better one for you. Tom, listen. Listen.
You people clean up your act on TV, but go down to the
Let me
streets.
respond to her.
Look
The
at it
question
down in
is not welfare. The question is not whether people can be helped in these programs. The question is the welfare birth rate. Why should a welfare
Well, that's
mother
outright racist.
continue to have illegitimate
You want
children?
people to be sterilized? No, that's ridiculous.
No,
People
I'm
have a
talking
choice
about
to have
practicing
babies
birth
with
control.
one
I'm
and a half
talking about
but they should have
requiring
babies
them
with
to
all
practice.
I'd rather
the
sterilize
babies.
Ronald Reagan.
You know, now I'm going to be accused of being a communist for coming up this one. All right, but I've studied it. I put it to a mathematical program, and I've looked at it. Welfare is costing this country $166 billion a year right now. All right. So wait a second.
Drop in
Wait
the
a
bucket
second.
compared to
Wait a
national
second.
defense,
Shut up,
the
will you?
arms race.
Now, I say, and hear it through before you boo, I say every American family of 4, and you prorate it if it's less than 4, every year receives, every American family, rich, poor, everything, $12,000 a year. The second $12,000 that they earn is free. The third 12, they pay back 50% of that for the loan of the 12. The second 12, the fourth 12, they pay back 50%. They've now paid back. At $48,000 and up, you now start paying the 28% bracket. What does that do? It does two important things. Number one, it gives people the incentive to go to work, to become part of the system if they've been on welfare and been lazy, because now they have 12 and they can keep the next 12, all right? It takes those people and gives them incentive. Based on the model put together from some people at the University of Pennsylvania, this would bring back to the United States $109 billion of the money we're spending on welfare, because it would come in productivity and taxes. And you can boo it and say it's no good, but the pablum pukers haven't done anything about it.
The welfare money's spent right back into the systems in the neighborhoods.
Let me tell you
the
something.
arms race
Let
money
me
goes
tell you
in the
something.
bank
You
accounts
want
of
a
the big
separate
banks.
state? You want a
Did you hear
separate
what I
state?
said?
You want a separate
What I
state?
said?
Shut up. I'll tell you, I'll give them a separate state. Let's join some garbage scouts together and send this son of a bitch out on one. We'll be right back. Stand by.
Some of the guests of the Morton Downey Jr. show stay at the Meadowlands Hilton Hotel.
Matchmaker.
I want to come to the Cowboys first. Go ahead, Cowboy.
I just want to tell you, you two don't act like you want to help welfare. You just are like
for the white people, only white people. You know, we should all work together in this country. It ain't white and black, it's all together.
The largest
now, you're
amount of
talking about
welfare
white
people are white. The largest amount of welfare people are white.
Let me hear from this man.
Mort, why didn't you give David a proper chance to display his candidacy?
Why didn't I give what?
His proper, you know, his chance to display everything. You didn't let him talk or anything like that.
Are you kidding? His tongue dug a hole for him, man. His tongue dug a hole.
I single-handedly got 500 of the 1,500 signatures he needed to get on the ballot.
You single-handedly did that. You ought to have your head examined. You ought to have it examined.
Not because he's a racist or nothing like that. Because you wouldn't give an actual chance to let him say anything other principles.
He said everything he had to say.
You wouldn't give him a chance to say it.
What do you want to give someone a chance when they use their tongue as a shovel, man?
Letting everyone else talk, give him a chance.
I'll give him a chance now. 30 seconds to wind it up.
Well, look, the point is this. You know, I'm not an advocate. I don't believe in white supremacy. I believe in a lot of white stupidity. There's a lot of white people today.
Wait a second. Let me hear him. Let me hear him. Let me hear him.
There's a massive program of racial discrimination going on against white people in this country that affects millions, and nobody's concerned about it. And as Tom says, many of these people, many of the poor in America are white, but they face discrimination in scholarships and jobs. They work hard. They produce hard. But there's no concern. There's no moral outrage about discrimination against young white people. And welfare, I didn't talk. Sure, people deserve welfare. People should be helped in our society. But that doesn't mean that hard-working people who can't afford
30 seconds.
children.
You got it, Tom.
Look,
Tom's got it.
First of all, I want to say hi to all the Brooklyn skinheads out this way. And second,
yeah.
Love you.
Hey.
And second, I want to say all you white poor out there in the audience, we know who you are. We know what your problem is, and we're with you. Get all the money you can get off the bat.
Let me tell you something, because I want Gloria to say, wait a second! You know how you tell the difference between a white Aryan and a KKK? Huh? You take two pieces of crap, throw them against the wall, the piece that sticks is the KKK. Gloria, finish it up. You got 30 seconds.
One, I think that to air a show like this is important for people. But I think what is more significant is the fact that we realize that this is a great country. It's got a lot of problems. But I'm sitting here between two men like this, and I can sit here and know that the audience can think. I'm listening to what you're saying, and that is what is important. But if we ever have a government, like he wants, and like he wants, it will not be America.
I tell you, gang, you've heard some of the great hate mongers of our time tonight. They've exposed themselves once again as racist pigs with no constituency. We've also seen again that welfare recipients aren't the problem in this country. These are the problems. These, dirt like you. You're dirt.